My goodness, mother-in-law, did you truly attend your own husband's final rites in that rather inexpensive garment? Tiffany Albright's voice fractured the chapel's somber stillness, like a sharp, unwelcome sound. It's quite mortifying. You appear rather unpolished. All gazes immediately shifted towards me. My own simple, refined ebony attire, meticulously selected for its understated elegance, seemed to profoundly displease my daughter in law. Little did she comprehend that this so called bargain item had, in fact, commanded a sum of $80,000. Tiffany, darling, let's try to focus on paying our respects to your father in law, urged Marcus, my son, his tone strained. However, my daughter in law had already secured her captivated audience. No, Marcus, somebody must voice this. I'm employed in high end fashion retail. I recognize true quality when I encounter it, and this. She gestured at my dress with undisguised contempt. This is clearly from the discount rack. Your mother demonstrates a complete lack of sophistication. Her companions, Candace and Naomi, offered approving nods, akin to impressionable sheep, and engaged in hushed exchanges. The low rumble of disapproval rippled through the congregation. I remained composed, my hands intertwined, feigning deep hurt by her pronouncements. Poor Elias, Tiffany continued, amplifying her volume. He must be writhing in his grave, witnessing his widow's failure to even exhibit basic decorum for his farewell. How profoundly embarrassing for our entire family. Tears began to well in my eyes, though they stemmed not from sorrow, but from a fierce, suppressed indignation. This woman dared to humiliate me during the most agonizing period of my existence, entirely oblivious to the fact that I was the proprietor of the very luxury brand for which she served as a humble sales associate. Just observe her, she proceeded with her performance. She cannot even procure suitable attire. Marcus, you should truly provide your mother with funds to acquire something appropriate. A subtle amusement bloomed within me. If only she knew that my personal wardrobe boasted over 200 designer creations, that my financial portfolio contained more zeros than the days in a year, and that her termination notice was already prepared and awaiting her in my private executive suite. My daughter Belle gently brushed my arm and murmured, "Mother, please disregard her. Her behavior is atrocious." Yet I felt compelled to hear more. I desired Tiffany to persist in engaging in her own professional downfall. You know what, Marcus? Tiffany directed her voice emphatically towards her husband. When we eventually have children, I sincerely hope they do not resemble your mother, so utterly commonplace. She bestowed a look of pity upon me. Look at her. She has no aptitude for dressing appropriately for such a significant event. The stifled giggles from her confidants intensified. Candace even ventured to remark, "It's quite true, Tiff. I also work in retail, and that ensemble likely cost no more than $100. If only they were aware that the iridescent buttons adorning my dress alone carried a price of $500 each." Precisely, Candace, Tiffany retorted. That's why I maintain she lacks refinement. The establishment where I am employed caters to a discerning clientele, women who genuinely appreciate fashion and sophistication. Wouldn't you agree? She gestured dismissively in my direction. My son, Marcus, appeared visibly uneasy, yet remained unvoiced, predictably. He had always exhibited timidity when it came to confronting his spouse. "Tiffany, that is quite enough," Belle finally interjected, her voice imbued with newfound firmness. "No, permit her to continue," I stated at last, my voice adopting a soft, somewhat fragile cadence. "She speaks the truth. I truly do not grasp these elegant concepts as she does." Tiffany beamed triumphantly. "At least you concede the point? Look, mother-in-law, it's not your blame you were not born with discerning taste, but you could at least make an effort not to bring shame upon the family publicly. Her associates offered a muted round of applause. Naomi added with a veneer of false commiseration, "Oh, the poor soul! It must be challenging to lack the means for appropriate attire." "Precisely," Tiffany continued, emboldened. "Imagine attending your own husband's funeral, attired as if you were popping to the corner store for essentials. She simply possesses no practical sense." The hushed murmurs escalated throughout the chapel. I could discern snippets of conversation. "What a pity! The poor woman! How utterly mortifying! Superb! The more witnesses to this public spectacle of indignity, the more satisfying my retribution would prove to be." "And those footwear," Tiffany pressed on, pointing at my classic black heels. "They resemble something one might discover at a street market. My heavens, were I her, I would be mortified to leave my residence in such a state." Those heels were a bespoke creation, valued at $12,000, a detail she would remain blissfully unaware of. "Look, mother-in-law," she stated condescendingly, leaning closer to me, "I understand you are not financially abundant, but the next occasion you require appropriate attire for a significant event, I would be happy to lend you items from my personal collection. I have established connections with the finest establishments." The sheer irony was intoxicating. This woman, whose monthly stipend barely exceeded $3,000 for vending my own garments in my boutique, was offering to loan me dresses. If only she knew that I was the very individual who personally authorized her remuneration. "That is exceedingly thoughtful of you, Tiffany," I replied, my voice trembling slightly. "However, I would not wish to impose any inconvenience." "It is no inconvenience whatsoever. It's simply Christian benevolence," she declared with a disingenuous smile. "It's precisely what any decent individual would do in my position." Her companions voiced their acquiescence. Candace even remarked, "You are truly an angel, Tiff. Not everyone would extend such generosity to someone so limited." Limited. The word resonated within my thoughts. If only they were aware that my limitations encompass the ownership of 17 high-end boutiques, 3 textile manufacturing facilities, and a personal fortune exceeding $100 million. Furthermore, Tiffany added, now addressing the entire assembly, "I believe we can all glean a valuable lesson from this episode. The importance of education, of cultivating aspirations, of refusing to settle for mediocrity." The discreet applause confirmed that she had achieved her objective, transforming my husband's memorial service into her personal platform for asserting moral superiority. "Poor Elias," she sighed theatrically. He was perpetually concerned about his mother-in-law. He would often remark that he couldn't fathom how she would manage in his absence. He was right about one thing. My late husband did worry about me, but not for the reasons she perceived. He understood that my heart was too compassionate, that I forgave too readily. He would often advise me, "Seraphina, when I am gone, do not permit anyone to tread upon you." That particular day had indeed arrived. Following the elaborate display Tiffany orchestrated at the funeral, I piloted my 2015 Honda Civic, a vehicle I deliberately selected to perpetuate my guise of a destitute, vulnerable widow. The reality was that my private garage housed a Bentley, a Mercedes S-Class, and a Porsche, all concealed from public knowledge. Yet on this day, it was imperative to maintain the persona of Seraphina everyone believed themselves to know, the unsophisticated mother-in-law, the widow bereft of resources, the woman who, in my daughter-in-law's estimation, possessed not a shred of elegance. Upon reaching my modest dwelling, I slipped off my $12,000 heels and poured myself a glass of wine, not any ordinary wine, but a vintage Bordeaux, the cost of which was $5,000 per bottle. To the outside world, however, I was the lady who procured boxed wine from the grocery store. My mobile device chimed. It was Belle, my daughter. "Mother, I am so deeply sorry for what transpired today. Tiffany behaved appallingly." "Do not fret, my dear," I responded, my voice tinged with weariness. "I am accustomed to her pronouncements. But it is not right, Mother, to act that way at Father's funeral. It is inhuman." Belle remained unaware of the truth regarding my financial standing. I had made a conscious decision years prior to withhold this information from my own children. It was a more prudent approach, less complicated, and permitted me to truly ascertain the character of those surrounding me. "I shall speak with Marcus tomorrow," Belle continued. "He cannot permit his wife to treat you in such a manner. No, I implore you, do not. I wish to avoid creating discord in their marital relationship." Yet the discord was already fomenting. Tiffany remained unaware that her employer would receive a highly specific telephone communication the following day. After concluding the call, I retreated to my secluded study, a chamber unknown to any of my offspring, concealed behind a seemingly ordinary bookshelf. Within lay my genuine treasures, the contractual agreements for my enterprises, the financial reports for my boutiques, and, naturally, the employee files for all my staff, including Tiffany Albright, sales associate, designation level 2, employed at my flagship establishment with a base compensation of $3,000 monthly, exclusive of commission. I opened her file and reviewed her professional history. 3 formal warnings for lateness, 2 customer grievances concerning a dismissive demeanor, and a supervisory assessment noting her unwarranted air of superiority. Excellent. I retrieved my private telephone, reserved exclusively for business transactions, and contacted Janice, my human resources director. "Miss Coleman, I extend my profoundest sympathies for your loss," Janice conveyed with genuine sadness. "Thank you, Janice, but I require your assistance with a personal matter tomorrow." "Certainly. Please specify the individual. Tiffany Albright, an employee at the downtown boutique. I wish for you to meticulously scrutinize her performance over the preceding 6 months. Are there any particular concerns? Let us simply say she has exhibited a distinct lack of consideration for clientele, a trait I cannot condone within my organization." Janice understood perfectly. She had been in my employ for 15 years and was well aware that when I adopted such a tone, the situation was indeed grave. "Understood. You require me to prepare the documentation for disciplinary proceedings." "Prepare everything, but we shall await the opportune moment." After concluding the call, I reclined in my Italian leather armchair, contemplating the day's events. Tiffany's public degradation had merely served as an overture. She was entirely oblivious to the fact that she had just initiated hostilities with the wrong adversary. My late husband, Elias, consistently lamented my excessive kindness and tolerance. "Serafina," he would reiterate, "some individuals mistake benevolence for feebleness, and when such an error occurs, it becomes necessary to illuminate the distinction. For 40 years of our marriage, he had been my unwavering protector. Elias was privy to my business endeavors. He was my silent partner, my most trusted confidant. Together, we had erected an empire from its foundations, always preferring to remain discreet, always maintaining the facade of an ordinary middle-class family. However, Elias was no longer present to shield me from vipers like Tiffany. Now I would be compelled to defend myself, and I would do so with the poise befitting a 70-year-old woman possessing 50 years of commercial experience. The subsequent day, while Tiffany was industriously disseminating her purported acts of charity across social media and extending offers of sartorial assistance, I was ensconced in my executive office, meticulously reviewing the financial data for all my enterprises. My personal assistant, a highly capable individual named Estelle, who has been with me for 2 decades, entered carrying a tray with refreshments. "The monthly reports, Miss Coleman," she announced, placing a stack of documents upon my mahogany desk. "How are the sales figures for the downtown boutique progressing?" "Excellent performance this quarter. The new collections have been exceptionally well received, and regarding the personnel." Estelle paused momentarily. "There are a few situations requiring your attention." "Proceed." "Tiffany Albright has been involved in numerous client interactions. It appears she makes pronouncements regarding the affordability of certain items for individuals." Intriguing. My daughter-in-law had not only subjected me to humiliation, but she was also actively alienating my patrons with her haughty demeanor. "Is there anything further?" "Security camera footage has captured some questionable conduct. She utilizes her personal mobile device for extended periods during working hours. Her punctuality is consistently problematic, and yesterday she was observed photographing merchandise without making a purchase." Each piece of information served as another nail in her professional coffin. "Estelle, please schedule a meeting for me next Friday with all management personnel from the downtown boutique." "Is there a specific reason, ma'am?" I permitted myself a smile for the first time since Elias's funeral. "It is time to implement some necessary personnel adjustments." The week following the funeral unfolded with the precision of a masterfully composed symphony of familial hypocrisy. Tiffany seized every available opportunity to reiterate the magnitude of her generosity towards me, highlighting her offers of wardrobe assistance and her connections within the fashion industry. On Wednesday morning, I received a telephone call from Marcus, my son. "Mother, Tiffany informed me she extended an offer to assist you with your wardrobe requirements." "Yes, she was exceedingly kind," I responded in a submissive tone. "Look, Mother, I understand Father handled all the financial matters, and I realize circumstances must be difficult for you now. If you require any financial assistance—" How ironic! My own son offering me monetary aid when I possessed the capacity to acquire his entire residence, with the cash discreetly kept in my personal vault. "Do not concern yourself, Marcus. I shall manage adequately with your father's pension." "Are you certain? Because Tiffany mentioned your apartment appears rather modest, and your clothing—" "Your wife is quite correct. I possess no aptitude for fashion comparable to hers." I detected a discernible note of satisfaction in his voice. "Well, she is truly knowledgeable about the industry. She is employed at one of the city's most prestigious establishments. Her superiors place immense trust in her. If only he knew that I was the very superior who commanded such trust." "She must be exceptionally talented," I murmured. "Indeed. In fact, she is anticipating a promotion. Her supervisor indicated a strong possibility of her advancement to junior manager." Fascinating intelligence. Janice had made no mention of any impending promotions for Tiffany. My daughter-in-law was likely fabricating this narrative to impress my son. "I am delighted for her, Marcus. Yes, and you know what, Mother? When she receives her promotion, our earnings will increase, and we will be able to assist you more frequently. Perhaps we could even accompany you on shopping excursions to establishments of higher caliber." Each utterance from my son's lips felt like a fresh incision. How had I raised a man so utterly blind to his wife's cruelty? "That is remarkably considerate of you, my son." After concluding the call, I immediately contacted Estelle. "Estelle, I require an update on any rumors concerning a promotion for Tiffany Albright." "None whatsoever, Miss Coleman. In fact, her direct supervisor, Diane, indicated yesterday that she is contemplating placing her on probation due to her conduct with clients." "Are the reports I requested prepared?" "Yes, ma'am. documented incidents, security recordings, and testimonials from clients who lodged complaints regarding her behavior. Excellent work. Now I require you to undertake one additional task. Please discreetly investigate the personal financial circumstances of Tiffany and Marcus, including income, expenditures, and any outstanding debts. The comprehensive details. Estelle posed no questions. After 2 decades of dedicated service, she understood that my requests for financial information were invariably based on sound reasoning. On Thursday afternoon, the results arrived on my desk, proving even more illuminating than anticipated. Marcus and Tiffany were demonstrably living far beyond their financial means. Their monthly rent amounted to $3,500, exceeding Tiffany's entire monthly salary. They had accumulated credit card debt in excess of $40,000, a car loan of $22,000, and had recently requested an advance on their salary from the boutique. However, the most gratifying detail was their application for a mortgage to purchase a residence valued at $250,000, utilizing Tiffany's imminent promotion and prospective salary increase as collateral. The residence of their aspirations, the future they had envisioned, all contingent upon an advancement that would never materialize. Friday arrived with uncharacteristic swiftness. I selected my most understated yet refined executive ensemble, a black Chanel suit I had acquired in Paris the previous year, complemented by my authentic Mikimoto pearls. Nothing ostentatious, yet any aficionado of fashion would immediately recognize its inherent quality. At precisely 10 o'clock in the morning, I arrived at the downtown boutique. My boutique. "Good morning, Miss Coleman." Diane, the supervisor, greeted me, employing my married surname as was customary in public settings. "The management team is awaiting your presence in the office." I proceeded through the store, meticulously observing every detail. The employees were engaged in their duties with commendable diligence, attending to clientele with professionalism and grace, with the solitary exception of one individual. Tiffany was leaning against the counter, engaged in a mobile telephone conversation, her laughter echoing loudly. Her uniform was unpressed, her makeup excessively applied, and her demeanor was utterly incongruous with the sophisticated ambiance of my establishment. "Girl, you will not believe this," I overheard her say into the phone. "My mother-in-law is so pathetic. I swear Marcus informed me yesterday we can take her shopping once I get promoted. Imagine having to teach a 70-year-old woman how to dress." She chuckled at her own cruelty while a customer patiently awaited service. Yeah, I work at the most exclusive boutique in the city. My boss is super cool. She trusts me a lot. In fact, she's making me a junior manager next week." Lies piled upon more lies. Fascinating. So my mother-in-law showed up to her husband's funeral dressed like a charity case. I swear it looked like she bought her dress at Burlington. I was so secondhand embarrassed. The waiting patron, clearly annoyed by the lack of attention, relocated to another counter. "You know what's the funniest part?" Tiffany continued, blissfully unaware of her surroundings. "She actually thinks her dress was elegant. The poor old lady has no idea what real fashion is." It was at that precise moment that I elected to approach her. "Excuse me," I said softly. Tiffany turned, and for a fleeting instant a flicker of recognition crossed her features, likely due to the unprecedented sight of me attired appropriately. "Oh, mother-in-law, what are you doing here?" she inquired, partially obscuring her phone, visibly perturbed by the interruption. "I've come to do some shopping," I replied with feigned innocence. "Marcus gave me some funds and said you could assist me in selecting something suitable." Her disposition shifted instantaneously. The prospect of instructing me in matters of attire visibly enthralled her. "Oh, that's wonderful. Gotta go," she stated to her companion. "I have to help my mother-in-law stop making a fool of herself." She terminated the call and subjected me to an assessment, her disdain thinly veiled. "All right, mother-in-law, first we need to establish a budget. How much did Marcus give you? Because things aren't cheap here. It's not like that flea market you usually shop at." "Marcus gave me $500, I stated, offering a fabricated figure. Tiffany emitted a peal of laughter. $500? Oh my goodness! With $500 here, you can barely afford a pair of earrings. But fine, let's see what we can accomplish with such a meager sum." She guided me towards the accessories section, the least expensive area of the establishment. "Look, mother-in-law, these scarves are on sale. They're $200 each, but they're very pretty. They could add a touch of class to your style." She lifted one of the scarves and presented it to me with an air of condescension. "Observe the quality of the silk. This is what true elegance signifies, not those rags you typically wear." The scarf she held was part of my spring collection from the previous year. I had personally overseen every element of its meticulous design. "It's very beautiful," I conceded. "Right, I have a keen sense for these things. That's why my bosses are going to promote me. They recognize my talent." Just then, Diane approached us. "Tiffany, Miss Coleman is expecting you in the office." Tiffany paled slightly. "Miss Coleman, my boss is here." "Yes, she arrived a few moments ago. She mentioned it was urgent." I could perceive the rising panic in Tiffany's eyes. "But I'm assisting a client. I'll attend to the lady." Diane intervened with diplomatic grace. Tiffany directed an annoyed glance towards me. "Mother-in-law, I have a very significant professional commitment to attend to. I shall return in a few minutes to continue assisting you." "Yes, of course, my dear. Please attend to your important matters." I watched as she nervously ascended towards the offices on the second floor, utterly oblivious to the fact that she was walking directly into her professional downfall. While Tiffany nervously proceeded to the office where she anticipated meeting me in my capacity as an employee, I remained downstairs, savoring the delicious irony of the situation. Diane, my trusted supervisor, approached me with a knowing smile. "How was the performance, ma'am?" she inquired in a hushed tone. "Exceeded my expectations. That woman has just irrevocably sealed her professional destiny with her own words. The security recordings captured the entirety of her telephone conversation and her conduct towards you. Shall I proceed upstairs now? Let us delay for a few additional moments. I wish for her to experience a heightened sense of apprehension, wondering about my whereabouts." Meanwhile, I elected to take a leisurely stroll through my establishment, observing its operational flow in my absence. The employees performed their duties with professionalism, attending to each patron with courtesy and expertise, with the solitary exception of the individual who had just ascended to the upper level. I approached one of the junior sales associates, a young woman named Chloe, whom I had hired 6 months prior. "Excuse me," I said, adopting the guise of a casual shopper. "What is your assessment of the service provided by the young woman who was here moments ago? The one with the curly hair?" Chloe looked up, a hint of apprehension in her gaze, before responding. "You mean Tiffany?" "Yes, that appears to be her name." The young woman paused for a beat, clearly uneasy. Well, it's hardly my place to pass judgment on my associates. I was merely curious. She came across as remarkably self-assured. "Look, ma'am, I'd much rather be assisting you. What can I get for you?" Her polished demeanor impressed me. She was precisely the kind of staff member I appreciated. Competent, discreet, and faithful. I'm actually just anticipating someone. But tell me, have you been with the company for an extended period? 6 months. This is my inaugural role in high-end fashion retail, and I truly find immense satisfaction in it. And what is the general atmosphere like here? Chloe's gaze drifted towards the staircase once more. For the most part, my colleagues are exceptional, highly professional, and consistently ready to offer their support, but she faltered. However, I really shouldn't be saying this, but some individuals seem to believe that employment here grants them license to mistreat others, as if the establishment's opulence has gone to their heads. Precisely what I had suspected. Have you witnessed specific instances of this? Well, I've observed how certain employees make judgments about customers based on their outward appearance before offering service, as if they're deciding who can and cannot afford to patronize this establishment. That runs counter to every principle we were instilled with during our training. And what principles did your training emphasize? That every single customer warrants equal respect and attention, irrespective of their appearance or attire. That our proprietor, Miss Coleman, maintains that genuine sophistication emanates from respect and humility, not from arrogance. My spirit swelled with a sense of fulfillment. My core values were being effectively conveyed, at least to the staff members who were worth retaining. Your employer sounds like an exceptionally sagacious individual. She is, though I've never had the pleasure of meeting her in person. Everyone speaks of her in glowing terms. They claim she began from humble beginnings and constructed this entire enterprise through diligent effort and sound ethical standards. Just at that moment, I observed Tiffany descending the stairs, her expression one of utter bewilderment. She proceeded directly in my direction. Mother-in-law, has no one attended to you yet? What appalling service, she declared, clearly vexed at not having located her superior on the upper level. This young lady was attending to me quite admirably, I responded, gesturing towards Chloe. Tiffany regarded Chloe with undisguised disdain. Oh, she's new, she has no real understanding. I am the authority here. I've been here for a considerably longer duration and possess greater experience. Chloe subtly withdrew, but I could discern from her expression that she had perfectly grasped the nature of the individual Tiffany was. Did you manage to locate your manager? I inquired innocently. No, it seemed she had an urgent departure, but it scarcely matters. She was likely en route to inform me of my upcoming promotion. She invariably seeks me out for matters of significance. The fabrications continue to pile up. Well, in the interim, we could perhaps continue perusing garments for myself. By all means, mother-in-law, but permit me to convey something of considerable import first. Upon my ascension to the managerial position, I intend to implement numerous transformations here, particularly concerning customer engagement. What sort of alterations are you contemplating? For instance, I intend to institute a specific sartorial guideline for our clientele. We cannot have just anyone wandering in here attired in any haphazard manner. This is an establishment of luxury, not a discount outlet. Each utterance was more revealing than the last. And should an individual fail to adhere to your code, well, I shall politely suggest they patronize establishments more befitting their social standing. It's for the benefit of all. Our discerning clientele experience discomfort when encountering individuals who clearly do not belong here. An intriguing philosophy, I mused. Precisely. My employer will be immensely gratified when she witnesses the enhancements I bring to the store's image. She will likely bestow a bonus upon me for such initiative. She guided me towards the most exclusive section of the boutique, ironically towards my own most coveted creations. Observe, mother-in-law, these gowns are exquisite, but they are patently beyond your financial reach. Their cost ranges from $5,000 to $15,000 apiece. She lifted one of my favored designs, a champagne-hued gown adorned with intricately embroidered embellishments. Do you perceive this craftsmanship? This is authentic haute couture. I possess a similar garment at my residence. A highly esteemed patron, delighted with my service, presented it to me as a token of appreciation. Another fabrication. Staff members were expressly forbidden from accepting any gratuities from patrons, and I personally reviewed every sales transaction record. It is indeed lovely, I conceded, my fingers brushing against the fabric. Yes, but it is undeniably unsuitable for you. We must locate something more within your budgetary constraints, something that aligns with your present aesthetic. She directed me towards a rear section featuring discounted items from prior collections. Here you will find pieces more aligned with your price point. Look, this charcoal-colored dress is marked down to $400. It is perfectly appropriate for ladies of your age. The garment she presented was indeed from my collection, but from 3 years past, a design I had discontinued due to its failure to meet my exacting quality standards. What are your thoughts on this particular dress? I inquired. Frankly, it's rather unremarkable, but for someone of your stature it will suffice. You lack the physique or the commanding presence to carry off truly exceptional pieces. Her pronouncement stung, though not for the reason she might have presumed. It was painful to realize that such a callous and superficial individual was employed by my company, representing my values to the public. You know what, Tiffany? I finally stated, I believe you are correct regarding my supposed deficiency in style. She beamed with triumphant satisfaction. I'm pleased you acknowledge it. That is the initial stride towards improvement. However, I do have one query. Kindly elucidate what would transpire if an individual were to feign indigence while possessing substantial wealth. How ought such a person to be treated? Tiffany let out a peal of laughter. Oh, mother-in-law, such scenarios are confined to the realm of cinematic fiction. Affluent individuals do not traverse the streets disguised as the impoverished. That is preposterous. But hypothetically speaking, if someone were to enter this establishment attired as you are, they most certainly would not possess wealth. It is utterly inconceivable for someone with genuine financial means to dress in such a rudimentary fashion. I comprehend. Furthermore, why would an affluent person endeavor to appear poor? It defies all logic. Individuals with money desire to display it. They wish to flaunt it. Much like my VIP clientele, they invariably arrive impeccably adorned, bedecked in costly jewelry, and piloting luxury automobiles. Exceedingly sound reasoning. That is precisely why I excel in this profession, mother-in-law. I possess the acumen to discern individuals' financial capacities and to interact with them accordingly. At that precise juncture, Estelle, my personal assistant, entered the boutique with practiced subtlety. She acknowledged my presence and approached. Ma'am, they are awaiting your presence in the office, she announced with a pleasant smile. Tiffany regarded her with an expression of distinct perplexity. Excuse me, who are you? I am Miss Coleman's personal assistant, Estelle replied with unruffled composure. And what connection does my mother-in-law have with your employer? Estelle directed a glance towards me, awaiting direction. I offered a subtle nod. Your mother-in-law is, in fact, my employer. The colour completely receded from Tiffany's countenance. The ensuing silence following Estelle's declaration was profound. Tiffany stared at me as if she had encountered a spectre, her features cycling through every hue from stark white to pallid green. What did you say? She stammered, her hand gripping the counter as if for support. What you heard. Estelle responded with professional equanimity. Marifina Coleman is the founder and proprietor of this esteemed chain of boutiques. Tiffany pivoted to face me, her eyes wide with disbelief. No, it cannot possibly be. You reside in that modest dwelling. You pilot that aging Honda. Your attire, my $80,000 ensemble, I interjected gently. The gown that so greatly perturbed you at my husband's funeral. $80,000? She echoed, as if a phantom of sound, struggling to process the information. The very same gown you deemed worthy of clearance rack placement. The identical $12,000 pumps that you likened to items procured from a flea market. Her words emerged in fragmented, gasping utterances. But I have been in your employ for 2 years. Precisely. And throughout that 2-year tenure, I have received numerous commendations regarding your inappropriate conduct with clientele. Estelle retrieved a folder from her handbag. Would you care for me to read the pertinent reports, ma'am? Please, Estelle. I believe Tiffany would benefit immensely from hearing precisely what her supervisors have documented concerning her conduct. Tiffany sank into a nearby chair, utterly vanquished. Report dated March 15th, Estelle commenced. A client lodged a complaint that employee Tiffany Albright deliberately neglected her for 20 minutes, having concluded that the patron did not possess the requisite financial profile to shop at the establishment. No, that is not correct. Report dated April 22nd. A client in her 60s was subjected to contemptuous and condescending treatment, being directed exclusively towards clearance merchandise, without any inquiry into her preferences or budget. Each report delivered a stark revelation to Tiffany's face. Report dated May 8th. Employee was observed utilizing her personal mobile device for a duration of 2 hours during her shift, disregarding multiple customer inquiries. I can provide an explanation. What explanation are you prepared to offer, Tiffany? I inquired, my voice calm yet imbued with inherent authority. Will you explain how you elected to publicly humiliate me at my husband's funeral? Or perhaps you would prefer to expound upon how you have just declared that you ascertain an individual's worth solely on the basis of their outward appearance? Tears began to stream from her eyes. Ma'am, I was unaware. Had I possessed knowledge of your true identity, that is precisely the issue, Tiffany. Your deference to individuals is contingent upon their financial standing. You exhibit cordiality only towards those you perceive to possess wealth. I moved closer to her, maintaining my dignified yet imposing posture. Tell me, what would you have done differently at the funeral had you been privy to my true identity? I never would have. You never would have what? You never would have revealed your authentic disposition. You never would have exposed the depths of your cruelty and superficiality. Tiffany was now openly weeping. Please, Miss Coleman, it was a grave misunderstanding. I hold you in the highest regard. I have always respected you. You demonstrated respect towards me a mere 5 minutes ago, when you informed me that I lacked the physique or the presence. To don fine garments, that was your genuine sentiment regarding your mother-in-law, the woman who raised the man you love. Tiffany's sobs intensified. Other employees had begun to congregate discreetly, maintaining a respectful distance, yet clearly cognizant that a significant event was unfolding. Estelle, I instructed my assistant, would you be so kind as to read the final report? Certainly, report from this very morning. Employee Tiffany Albright was captured by security surveillance footage, speaking disparagingly about a client who, it transpired, was a member of her own family, thereby contravening numerous company policies concerning privacy and professional conduct. Furthermore, I added, she fabricated information regarding a non-existent promotion to impress her spouse and subsequently applied for a mortgage based upon this falsehood. Tiffany abruptly raised her head. How did you ascertain information about the loan? Tiffany, I am fully apprised of all pertinent details regarding the individuals in my employ, particularly when those individuals happen to be members of my family. Estelle continued. The financial investigation reveals liabilities exceeding $60,000, expenditures surpassing family income by 300%, and multiple instances of undeclared salary advancements. Undeclared, I reiterated, which signifies that, in addition to all other transgressions, you have been falsifying company financial documentation. Ma'am, please, I can account for everything. I required the funds to sustain a lifestyle that is beyond your means, to project an image of affluence that you do not possess, all while belittling others for their apparent lack of resources. The irony of the situation was, in its own way, perfect. Tiffany, who had derided my perceived impecuniousness, was the one demonstrably in financial straits. Tiffany, I stated, my voice growing progressively colder, I wish for you to grasp a matter of profound importance. I am not vexed by your ignorance of my identity. I am vexed by the manner in which you treated the individual you believed me to be. But, ma'am, I am disturbed that you deemed it appropriate to humiliate a 70-year-old widow at her husband's funeral. And I am disturbed that you base your esteem for your fellow human beings on the price tags of their apparel. It was not my intent. It was not your intent to reveal your true character, because that is precisely what you did. I turned towards Estelle. Do you have the necessary documentation prepared? Yes, ma'am, everything is in order. Tiffany regarded us with a rapidly escalating sense of dread. What documents? Your termination papers, naturally. No, please, I desperately need this position. We have outstanding debts, mortgage payments, the new residence you intend to acquire with funds derived from a promotion that never materialized. Please, Miss Coleman, I implore you, I will reform. I will become a different person. You will change. You will become different. I approached her once more. Tiffany, you are 32 years of age. If you have not acquired the ability to treat individuals with fundamental respect by this juncture, you are highly unlikely to develop it now. But it is my family. I am your daughter-in-law. Precisely. You are my daughter-in-law, and that renders your conduct all the more inexcusable. Estelle presented me with a folder. The termination documentation, ma'am. Thank you, Estelle. I accepted the folder and displayed it to Tiffany. Herein lies your notice of termination, effective immediately. You cannot perpetrate this. This is personal retribution. Personal retribution? I emitted a soft chuckle. Tiffany, this is a straightforward application of business protocol, customer mistreatment, misappropriation of work hours, falsification of official documents, and multiple infringements of the Code of Conduct. But I require this employment. My husband will. Your husband is about to discover a multitude of truths today, I interjected, including the way his wife treats his mother when she believes no important figures are observing. Tiffany's tears transformed into frantic sobs. Please, I entreat you, grant me one additional opportunity. You have already been afforded your opportunity, Tiffany. You had it during your 2 years of service here, and most notably, you had it on the day of the funeral when you had the choice to exhibit compassion rather than cruelty. But you were unaware, and that precisely is the crux of the matter. Your genuine nature surfaces when you believe there will be no repercussions. Estelle, I informed my assistant, while Tiffany continued her lamentations, please summon security to escort the employee from the premises. No, wait, Tiffany shrieked, abruptly rising to her feet in desperation. This cannot be how it concludes. I am family. Family members conduct themselves with mutual respect, Tiffany. You elected to forsake that principle. I solemnly pledge to transform. Grant me one final chance, like the opportunity you afforded me on the day of the funeral, like the consideration you demonstrated when you opted to transform the most agonizing moment of my existence into a personal exhibition of your superiority. Tiffany approached me, her hands clasped in supplication, genuinely pleading, Miss Coleman, I implore you, consider Marcus. Consider your son. If you divest me of my employment, you will shatter our marriage. I will shatter your marriage. I regarded her with unfeigned incredulity. Tiffany, you shattered your marriage the very day you resolved to publicly humiliate your husband's mother. But he will despise me. He will not comprehend. Oh, he will comprehend perfectly, especially when I present him with the security recordings from today's proceedings. Her countenance sagged further. Recordings, every single utterance you directed towards me, concerning my attire, my perceived lack of refinement, every spiteful remark you uttered over the telephone, presuming no significant individuals were privy to your conversation. Estelle interjected with practiced discretion. Security is en route, ma'am. Excellent. I returned my attention to Tiffany. You now have approximately 5 minutes to clear out your locker and return your employee identification badge. This constitutes an egregious abuse of authority. It is familial persecution. Abuse of power? My voice hardened. Tiffany, the abuse of power occurred when you degraded a 70-year-old woman in the presence of her entire family because you were confident you could do so with impunity. But you possess millions. I only have this occupation. And to whom is that circumstance attributable? Did I compel you to subsist beyond your financial means? Did I compel you to fabricate information regarding non-existent advancements? Did I instruct you to secure loans based on illusory prospects? Chloe, the young employee who had engaged with me earlier, approached hesitantly. Ma'am, do you require anything? Yes, Chloe. I wish for you to observe this very attentively. This serves as a critical lesson on the imperative of extending equal respect to all patrons, irrespective of their outward appearance. Tiffany glared at me with unadulterated animosity. You intend to leverage this for instructional purposes? Precisely. Your conduct will serve as a quintessential exemplification in our future training sessions, illustrating precisely what is to be avoided. It is humiliating. Humiliating? I emitted a humorless laugh. Tiffany, you subjected me to humiliation at my husband's funeral, in front of my family, my friends, individuals I have known for decades, and you did so for personal gratification. I was merely attempting to assist her. Assist me? By deeming me unrefined? By proclaiming to everyone that I resembled a pauper? The other employees had now drawn nearer, clearly captivated by the unfolding drama. I could discern in their expressions a mixture of astonishment and, I must confess, a degree of satisfaction at witnessing consequences finally materialize for Tiffany's corrosive behavior. Miss Coleman, Diane, my supervisor, interjected, would you like us to formally document this incident for dissemination to the other branches? An exceptionally astute suggestion, Diane. Let it serve as a cautionary example regarding the repercussions of mistreating clientele. Tiffany turned to Diane in desperation. Diane, you are aware that I am a diligent worker. Please say something. Diane regarded her with an expression that blended empathy with disappointment. Tiffany, I issued you multiple admonishments concerning your demeanor with customers, particularly the elderly ladies, but I never envisioned. You never envisioned what? That elderly ladies warranted respect, that they might possess greater wealth than their appearance suggested, that they might be connected to influential individuals. It is not that. Then what is it, Tiffany? I inquired directly. Articulate your personal philosophy of life. Explain why it is permissible to demean individuals whom you perceive as subordinate. I do not perceive them as subordinate. Then why did you treat me as if I were? Why? She paused, clearly unable to articulate a response without confessing her true nature. Because you believed you could act with impunity, I concluded for her, because you presumed I was merely a frail elderly woman with no capacity for reprisal. Just then, 2 security personnel arrived. Miss Coleman? Yes, kindly escort Miss Albright while she retrieves her personal effects. She is no longer employed here. Tiffany proceeded towards her locker with shoulders slumped under the escort of security. However, before she reached it, she turned back to me one final time. What will you relay to Marcus? I shall convey the unvarnished truth, Tiffany. I shall present him with an accurate depiction of the woman he has married. He loves me. He will not be concerned. He will not be concerned that his wife subjected his mother to public humiliation at his father's funeral. He will not be concerned that you falsified your employment status to secure financial accommodations. He will not be concerned that you precipitated their dire financial predicament due to your delusions of grandeur. Tiffany remained speechless. As she emptied her locker, I addressed the assembled employees who had borne witness to the entire affair. I wish for all of you to grasp a matter of profound significance. I stated, in my establishments, we accord every customer the utmost importance, irrespective of their sartorial choices or their apparent financial standing. They all nodded solemnly. And do you know the reason why? Chloe timidly raised her hand. Because it is the morally correct course of action. Exactly, Chloe. Because it is the morally correct course of action, but also because we can never truly ascertain the identity of the individual standing before us. Like you today? Another employee inquired. Like me today, but more critically, like anyone who crosses that threshold. Every customer merits respect, kindness, and professional attentiveness. Estelle approached me once more. Ma'am, would you like me to arrange a meeting with Marcus for this afternoon? Yes, Estelle. It is time my son was approved of the complete narrative. Tiffany, who had overheard this exchange while hastily placing her belongings into a box, rushed towards me. No, please do not disclose anything to Marcus. Allow me to explain it to him. You intend to explain it with further deceptions? No, I shall articulate the truth to him. What truth, Tiffany? The truth about your treatment of me. The truth about your financial obligations. The truth about the fabricated promotion. Everything. I shall divulge everything too late. You have had 2 years to present the truth. You had an opportunity to extend an apology following the funeral. You consistently chose to deceive. The security personnel escorted her towards the exit, bearing her receptacle of possessions. At the very last instant she turned and proclaimed, "This is not the conclusion. I shall contest this." "Please do," I responded calmly. "It will be rather illuminating to observe how you justify your conduct before a judicial authority." "A judge?" "Oh yes, Tiffany. Defamation, the creation of a hostile work environment, fraudulent misrepresentation on business documentation. I possess ample evidence to occupy your attention in litigation for years." Her face turned completely ashen before the guards finally ushered her from the building. Once she had departed, an absolute silence permeated the boutique. The staff regarded me with a blend of deference, admiration, and a touch of apprehension. "Very well," I declared at last. "I believe we have all gained a significant insight today." Diane approached. "Miss Coleman, shall I contact Human Resources to initiate the hiring of a replacement?" "Yes, however," Diane replied. "I wish for the new candidate to undergo a more stringent evaluation, particularly concerning their alignment with our core values and their capacity for excellent customer service." "Understood. And Diane, I want Chloe to receive an immediate advancement in her position. Her conduct today was truly commendable." Chloe's cheeks flushed and she offered a shy smile. "Thank you, Miss Coleman." "Don't thank me yet," I cautioned. "With this promotion comes greater responsibility." I departed the boutique with a curious sense of emptiness. The retribution I had orchestrated was now complete. Yet I still had to confront the most challenging part, explaining to my son why I had deliberately dismantled his wife's professional life. But that confrontation would have to wait. For the moment, my priority was to assemble the evidence I intended to present to Marcus that very afternoon. At 5 o'clock that evening, Marcus arrived at my residence, his countenance etched with distress. He had received my summons 2 hours prior, a call during which I had urgently requested his presence, emphasizing the critical need to discuss a matter of great importance concerning Tiffany. "Mum," he began, his voice strained. "What's happened? Tiffany came home in tears, saying she was unjustly dismissed and that you were involved." "Please sit down, Marcus," I invited. "What I am about to reveal will fundamentally alter your understanding of many things." My son settled onto the sofa, a familiar perch from his childhood and a place where he had often sought my counsel during his formative years. Now, at 35, he appeared utterly adrift. "Mom," he stated, a note of bewilderment in his tone, "Tiffany told me something quite peculiar. She claims you own the boutique where she was employed. That's impossible, isn't it?" I took a deep, steadying breath. "Marcus," I began, my voice firm, "for your entire life I have maintained secrecy regarding the true extent of our family's financial standing." His brow furrowed. "What do you mean?" I rose and walked towards my hidden study. "Come with me. It's time you understood who your mother truly is." As I unveiled the concealed entrance behind the bookshelf, Marcus gasped. His expression shifted from confusion to profound astonishment as he beheld my private office, replete with business documents, contracts, and numerous photographs of my establishments. "What is all this?" he stammered. "This, my son," I replied, gesturing broadly, "is the enterprise your father and I meticulously constructed over the past 4 decades. I presented him with the property deeds for our 17 boutiques, the procurement agreements for our 3 textile manufacturing plants, and bank statements that displayed figures far beyond his comprehension." "Mom," he breathed, disbelief coloring his words, "we're millionaires." "Indeed, Marcus," I confirmed, "we possess considerable wealth. We have been affluent for the majority of your life." "But why? Why did we live like that? Why did you never tell me?" "Because I desired for you and Belle to mature with a strong foundation of genuine values. I wanted you to grasp the significance of diligence, humility, and profound respect for every individual." Marcus sank into a chair, his composure shaken. "I can hardly believe it. All this time, you possessed the capacity to display your authentic character without the insidious influence of affluence, and Dad knew." "Your father was my partner in every endeavor," I clarified. "Together we resolved to maintain this secret until the opportune moment for disclosure." "And when would that opportune moment have been?" he asked. "When you demonstrated you were capable of handling such responsibility, when you proved that your moral compass was firmly calibrated." Marcus met my gaze, a complex mixture of admiration and burgeoning resentment evident in his eyes. "And how does this relate to Tiffany's dismissal?" he pressed, voicing the question I had anticipated. I retrieved the folder Estelle had meticulously prepared, containing all the pertinent evidence. "Marcus," I began, "your wife has been employed at one of my boutiques for the past 2 years. Throughout this period, she repeatedly demonstrated a pattern of mistreating clients, basing her judgment solely on their appearance." "That cannot be true," he protested. "No," I countered, producing the initial report. "It is meticulously documented here how your wife neglected a woman of 60 years, deeming her unsuitable for patronage based on her perceived economic standing." Marcus read the report, his expression darkening. This must be some kind of misunderstanding." "A misunderstanding," I echoed, then produced the subsequent document. "And this and this." Each report meticulously detailed a clear and consistent pattern of discriminatory and unprofessional conduct. However, Marcus, I continued, emphasizing the most critical point, the most significant aspect is not what she did at her place of employment, but rather what she did to me. What did she do to you? He inquired, his voice barely a whisper. On the very day of your father's funeral, I stated, my voice low and steady, your wife chose to publicly humiliate me due to my attire. She deemed me classless. She declared I looked like a pauper and mocked my clothing in front of our entire family. Marcus paled. Mom! Tiffany informed me she was merely attempting to assist. He said, his voice filled with uncertainty. Assist me? I questioned, my voice rising slightly. You considered it assistance when she told me I was pathetic, that I was embarrassing the family, that I resembled a beggar? Mom, I didn't mean... I assumed she was attempting to be helpful, he stammered. You believed it was acceptable for someone to treat your mother in such a manner, based on your presumption that she was correct about my supposed lack of refinement? No, it's not that. Then why did you not defend me? Marcus remained silent, offering no response. Do you know what else I discovered today? I inquired, pulling out the financial records. That your wife has been fabricating a narrative of a non-existent promotion, that you both applied for a mortgage predicated on projected income that was never likely to materialize. How could you possibly know that? He asked, his voice tinged with disbelief. Because I am a businesswoman, Marcus. When someone targets me, I investigate every facet of their life. I presented him with documents detailing their accumulated debts, their extravagant spending habits, and their precarious financial circumstances. You owe over $60,000 on credit cards. You reside in an apartment whose monthly rent exceeds Tiffany's entire annual salary. You have consistently requested advances on your salary. Marcus buried his face in his hands. My God, your wife has been living a complete fabrication, flaunting a prosperity she does not possess, while simultaneously ridiculing others for their apparent scarcity of resources. And now, what transpires? Now, Marcus, I replied, my gaze steady, you must make a conscious decision about the man you aspire to be. What do you mean? Can you stand by a woman who subjected your mother to public humiliation on the solemn occasion of your father's funeral? Or can you acknowledge that you have married someone who does not share your family's deeply held values? Mom, she's my wife. And I am your mother, I countered, my voice resonating with the weight of years. The woman who nurtured you, who instilled in you the principles of respect and dignity, who sacrificed countless comforts to ensure you received an education rooted in solid values. Marcus was silent for a considerable period. What do you want me to do? I do not require you to do anything, Marcus, I stated. I want you to arrive at your own conclusion, informed by the truth you now possess. And if I choose to remain with Tiffany, then you will have to accept the ramifications of that decision. What ramifications? The consequences of aligning yourself with an individual who believes it is permissible to belittle elders for her own amusement. Marcus rose and walked towards the window. My entire world is collapsing. No, Marcus, I corrected gently. Your fabricated world is disintegrating. You now have an unparalleled opportunity to construct something genuine. Will you assist me? I will always endeavor to support you, my son. However, that support is contingent upon you demonstrating that you merit it. How? By proving to me that the man I raised still exists, unblemished by your wife's corrosive influence. Marcus turned to face me, tears glistening in his eyes. Mum, I am so profoundly sorry that I failed to defend you at the funeral. That is the initial step, Marcus, I affirmed. And the second step, I continued, my gaze direct, is for you to determine whether you wish to continue your marital union with a woman who considers it acceptable to mistreat vulnerable individuals. Marcus nodded slowly, a pensive expression on his face. I need time to consider this. Of course, I acquiesced. However, Marcus, the duration for contemplation is not infinite. Certain decisions cannot be indefinitely postponed. 2 days following my confrontation with Marcus, my telephone rang precisely at 6 o'clock in the morning. It was Belle, my daughter, her voice laced with an undeniable sense of frantic agitation. "Mom!" she exclaimed. "What on earth is going on? Marcus called me in tears at midnight, saying you're a millionaire and that Tiffany was fired from your establishment." "It is indeed true, Belle," I confirmed. "Good morning to you as well. Yes, it is true." "How can it be true? Since when are we wealthy? Why did you never mention it?" "Belle, please come home this morning. It is imperative that you too are apprised of the truth." "Mom, I am utterly stunned. Marcus informed me about the boutiques, the considerable wealth, and Tiffany's conduct at Dad's funeral. I am struggling to process it all." "Precisely why your presence is required. There are numerous explanations to be provided." 2 hours later, Belle was seated in my living room, perusing the identical documentation I had presented to Marcus. Her reaction, however, diverged significantly from her brother's. "Mom," she said, her voice laced with a hint of accusation, "why did you never trust us?" "I did trust you, Belle," I countered. "I trusted that you would develop into upright individuals, uncorrupted by material possessions. But we could have experienced a superior quality of life. I could have attended a private university, enjoyed enhanced opportunities, and would you be the same person you are at this moment?" I interjected. Belle paused, deep in thought. I do not know. Actually, I do know. You would have been raised with privileges you would not have appreciated, fostering a sense of superiority that would have irrevocably damaged your character." "But look at what transpired with Marcus," she argued. "He married a dreadful woman who clearly despises us." "Precisely my point, Belle," I affirmed. "Marcus selected Tiffany when he believed we constituted a middle-class family. That fact alone suggests a deficiency in his character that warrants examination." "What do you mean?" "I mean that Marcus was perhaps drawn to Tiffany precisely because she embodied the status and sophistication he perceived himself to be lacking." Belle's brow furrowed. "That is a profound observation, Mom." "I have accumulated 70 years of experience observing human behavior, my dear." "And me? What is your assessment of my choices?" I smiled gently. "You elected to become an elementary school educator. You dedicate your efforts to assisting underprivileged children. You have married a commendable man who also works in education. Your values are unequivocally in the right place. So now I shall inherit all of this? You and Marcus will both inherit everything, but only if you demonstrate the capacity for responsible stewardship. And what if Marcus chooses to remain with Tiffany?" "That, Belle," I replied, my voice measured, "is a most pertinent question." Just then my telephone chimed. It was Estelle, my personal assistant. "Miss Coleman," she announced, "Tiffany Albright is presently at the main office. She insists on speaking with you urgently." "Tiffany is here?" "Yes, ma'am. She appears quite agitated and states she will not depart until she has had the opportunity to speak with you." I glanced at Belle. "Would you care to meet your sister-in-law under circumstances that are perhaps more revealing?" "What do you mean?" "Tiffany is currently in my office, likely seeking to implore me for the restoration of her position. I wish for you to accompany me." "Perfect," I agreed. "It is time you witness firsthand the true nature of the woman your brother has married." An hour later, Belle and I arrived at my executive suite within the company's primary headquarters. This was a space my children had never previously encountered. Opulent marble flooring, floor-to-ceiling windows offering a breathtaking panoramic vista of the cityscape, exquisitely designed furnishings, and original works of art adorning the walls. "My goodness, Mum," Belle whispered, her voice filled with awe. "This is absolutely magnificent." 40 years of dedicated effort, my dear, I responded. Estelle met us in the lobby. "She's waiting in the antechamber. She has been there since 8 o'clock this morning." "Has she conveyed anything specific?" "Only that she requires your audience to address a profound injustice and that she will not depart until you have heard her out." "Excellent. Please usher her into my office in 5 minutes' time." Belle and I settled into my office. I occupied my position behind the expansive mahogany executive desk, while Belle took a seat in a side chair, affording her a clear vantage point for observing the ensuing encounter. When Estelle guided Tiffany into the room, her transformation was starkly evident. The haughty, self-assured demeanor she had displayed at the funeral was gone, replaced by deep circles beneath her eyes, smudged makeup, and clothes that appeared wrinkled as if she had slept in them. "Miss Coleman," Tiffany began without preamble, her voice trembling slightly, "thank you for agreeing to see me. I am aware that I committed grievous errors, but I implore you to comprehend my predicament." "Please be seated, Tiffany," I invited gently. It was at this moment that her gaze fell upon Belle. "Belle," she faltered, "what are you doing here?" "Hello, Tiffany," Belle replied coolly. "I am here to learn about people's true character." Tiffany's face flushed, but she redirected her attention back to me. "Ma'am," she pleaded, "I have come to request a second chance. I acknowledge my inappropriate conduct, but I can change." "You believe you can change?" "Yes, completely. I can be a different person." "Tiffany," I said, my tone encouraging, "elaborate on precisely what you believe you did wrong." "Well," she began hesitantly, "I should not have spoken disparagingly of you at work. That is certain. And I should not have been utilizing my mobile device during operational hours." "Is there anything else?" Tiffany pondered for a moment. "And I should not have been tardy." Belle and I exchanged a knowing glance. It was evident that Tiffany had utterly failed to grasp the profound gravity of her transgressions. "Tiffany," I continued patiently, "what about the funeral?" "The funeral?" she repeated, her eyes widening slightly. "Yes, my late husband's funeral. Do you recall any specific interactions from that somber day?" "Well, I was attempting to assist you with your public image." "Assist me?" I inquired. "Yes, I believed that by offering you counsel on how to improve your attire." Belle interjected, her voice firm. "Tiffany, do you genuinely believe that publicly mortifying an individual constitutes assistance?" I did not mortify her, I was merely being forthright. "Therein lies the fundamental issue, Belle," I observed to my daughter. "She fails to recognize the impropriety of her actions." "But I can learn," Tiffany insisted desperately. "I am willing to enroll in customer service workshops. I can seek professional therapy, whatever it takes." "And why would you undertake such measures?" "Because I am in dire need of this position. We have substantial outstanding debts. The house we aspired to purchase. Marcus will despise me if we lose everything due to my actions." "Intriguing," I murmured. "You have not at any point expressed regret for causing me distress." "Of course I feel remorse," she stammered. "Remorse for causing me pain or remorse for the resulting repercussions you are now facing?" Tiffany's mouth opened, but no words emerged. "Because," I stated, my voice resonating with conviction, "there exists a profound distinction between those two sentiments, Tiffany." "I regret hurting you," she whispered. "When did this sentiment begin to manifest?" I asked, my gaze unwavering. Was it at the funeral, when you were labeling me as classless, or was it upon discovering my true identity? Tiffany's composure finally broke and she began to weep. "Please, Miss Coleman," she pleaded, her voice choked with sobs. "Do not condemn me for the remainder of my life for a solitary mistake." "A solitary mistake?" Elle rose from her chair, her voice resonating with indignation. "You characterize the public humiliation of a 70-year-old widow on the most sorrowful day of her life as a mere mistake?" "Belle, I implore you—" "No, Tiffany," Belle interrupted, her resolve firm. "You have been married to my brother for 2 years, and on not a single occasion have you demonstrated genuine respect for my mother." "That is untrue," Tiffany protested weakly. I retrieved another document from my desk. "I possess documented accounts from 3 separate family gatherings where you made dismissive remarks concerning my personal taste, my wardrobe, and my residence." "Those were merely casual observations," Tiffany countered, "casual observations that, regrettably, revealed your true opinion of me." Tiffany turned to Belle, her voice filled with desperation. "Belle, please speak to your mother. Persuade her to grant me another opportunity." "And why precisely would I do that, Tiffany?" Belle inquired calmly. "Because you are my brother's wife. We are family." "Family members treat each other with respect," Belle responded with unwavering conviction, "a principle that you, it appears, have never truly grasped, but I am capable of learning." "At 32 years of age," I inquired, my voice steady, "if you have yet to master the fundamental tenets of basic interpersonal respect, it is highly improbable that you will acquire them now." "That is unfair," Tiffany exclaimed, her voice laced with indignation. "Unfair," I echoed, rising from my desk and approaching her. "Do you know what is truly unfair, Tiffany? That a woman of 70 years must endure public degradation on the most agonizing day of her existence. Do you know what else is inequitable? That my employees must labor alongside someone who consistently diminishes their self-worth." "I never what?" I prompted. "Never informed your colleagues that certain patrons were inappropriate for the boutique?" Tiffany fell silent. "Never made pronouncements regarding individuals' social standing based solely on their outward appearance?" More silence. "Tiffany," I stated, my voice firm but devoid of cruelty, "the fundamental issue is not that you committed errors. The core problem is that your conduct unequivocally exposed your inherent character." "My true character can change." "No, Tiffany," I corrected gently. "Your outward behavior may be modified out of expediency, but your fundamental character is already firmly established." She crumpled completely, her sobs racking her body uncontrollably. "Then there is nothing I can do." "There is one thing you can do," I said. Her head snapped up, a flicker of hope in her eyes. "What is it?" "You can be entirely truthful with Marcus regarding your authentic identity, what you have accomplished, and the motivations behind your actions." "What do you mean?" "You can inform him that you entered into this marriage with the intention of molding him, that you have consistently perceived his family as inferior, and that you misrepresented your professional standing to impress him." "That is not true." "No?" I challenged. "Then explain why you never extended invitations to Marcus for your professional engagements, if your career was as flourishing as you claimed." Tiffany remained speechless. "Explain why you never introduced me to your superiors, if your relationships with them were so commendable." Complete silence. "Explain why you fabricated a promotion that never materialized." I wanted Marcus to be proud of me," she finally stammered. "And humiliating his mother was intended to facilitate that." Tiffany finally understood the futility of her situation. "Tiffany," I said, my voice steady yet not unkind, "I will afford you one final opportunity to conduct yourself with a modicum of dignity in this circumstance. What do you mean? Return home, engage in a direct conversation with Marcus, and confess the unvarnished truth about who you are, the actions you have taken, and the reasons behind them. And if I do that, will you reinstate my position? No. Her face fell, hope extinguished. Then what is the purpose? Because it is the morally upright course of action, Tiffany. For the first time in a considerable period, you have the chance to undertake something simply because it is right. But I require employment. You will secure alternative employment. However, you will never again be employed by any of my enterprises. And what if Marcus leaves me? That is a decision he must make, based on complete and accurate information. Tiffany slowly rose, her spirit utterly defeated. You win, Miss Coleman. You have utterly annihilated me. No, Tiffany, you have annihilated yourself. I merely refuse to continue to be your victim. After she departed, Belle and I sat in profound silence for several minutes. Mum, Belle finally articulated, her voice quiet. Do you believe Marcus will leave her? I cannot say with certainty, my darling. However, I sincerely hope so. If he does not, then I shall understand that I did not raise the man I believed I had. That evening, Marcus called. His voice was fractured, weary. Mum, Tiffany has confessed everything, every falsehood regarding her employment, the debt she concealed, her true opinions of our family, and she also revealed something else. What was that? She told me that throughout our entire marriage, she never felt you were sufficiently worthy of me. My heart ached with a subtle pain. I see. Mum, I am so deeply sorry for my blindness. I apologize for failing you when you needed me the most. And what is your course of action now, Marcus? I inquired gently. I have already taken it. I have requested a divorce. I experienced a complex interplay of relief and sorrow. How do you feel? He asked. Devastated, yet simultaneously liberated. It feels as though I have been carrying an immense burden that I was previously unaware of. That is a natural reaction, my son. May I come visit tomorrow? There are many matters I need to discuss with you. Most certainly, Marcus. You are always welcome. The following day, my 2 children were seated in my living room, now fully enlightened regarding the truth of our family's financial standing. It was an unusual sensation after so many years of guarded secrets to have everything laid bare. Mom, Marcus began, his voice earnest, I wish to formally extend my apologies, not only for my failure to defend you at the funeral, but also for the years during which I did not fully comprehend the sacrifices you made for us. I wish to apologize as well, Belle added, her voice soft, for questioning your decision to maintain such secrecy. I now understand that you bestowed upon us something far more valuable than mere wealth. You imparted genuine values. Your apologies are accepted, I replied, my voice gentle, but they were not necessary. You both acted with the knowledge and understanding you possessed at that particular time. And now, what is our path forward? Marcus inquired. Now? I repeated, rising and walking towards my desk. It is time for you both to become acquainted with your inheritance. I presented them with the documents I had meticulously prepared years prior, outlining the equitable division of my empire between them, but with specific stipulations. Marcus, I announced, you shall inherit the boutiques and the textile factories, but there is a condition attached. What is it? You must engage with the business for a period of 5 years, commencing at the very lowest rung of the operational ladder. I require you to immerse yourself, to comprehend every facet of the enterprise, from its foundational levels, as a floor salesman. I want you to experience firsthand the interactions with every conceivable type of customer, the process of earning the respect of the employees, and the intrinsic satisfaction of building something through diligent effort. Marcus nodded solemnly. I accept. Belle, I continued, you will inherit the real estate holdings and the financial investments, but your condition differs. What is it? I expect you to allocate a significant portion of that inheritance towards the establishment of charitable foundations, with a particular focus on educational initiatives for underprivileged children. Belle's eyes welled with tears. Mum, that is perfect. However, I added, my voice firm, you both share one additional, non-negotiable condition. What is it? They asked in unison. You must never, under any circumstances, utilize your wealth to subjugate or mistreat other individuals. The financial assets I am bequeathing to you come with the profound responsibility to employ them for the upliftment of others, not for their belittlement. Of course, Mum, Marcus affirmed, and I assure you, he continued, his voice resonating with conviction, that if I ever discover that you are leveraging your position to humiliate or demean another person, you will forfeit your entire inheritance immediately. Acknowledged, both voices confirmed. Half a year passed, and I found myself in my study, poring over the monthly accounts when Estelle entered, her countenance alight with a grin. Ma'am, she announced, you have a visitor. And who might that be? I inquired. It's Marcus, Estelle replied, but I suspect you'll want to witness this firsthand. Marcus stepped into my office, a transformed figure from the young man I remembered. He was clad in the attire of a floor salesman from the boutique, his eyes holding a different spark, his smile utterly sincere. Hello, Mother, he greeted. Might you spare a moment to converse with one of your team members? Of course, I responded. How is your inaugural month progressing? It's the most challenging undertaking I've ever faced, yet simultaneously the most rewarding, he admitted. Do elaborate, I prompted. Yesterday I assisted a woman who entered dressed quite plainly. She, much like yourself, was a widow and, it was evident, lacked significant financial resources. My initial inclination, based on past experiences, was to guide her towards the discounted merchandise. And what was your course of action? I asked. I extended the identical level of service I would offer any esteemed client. I guided her through the entire establishment, elucidated the superior quality of our offerings, and ensured she felt like the most valued individual present. She purchased a silk scarf priced at $50, but Mother, the sheer delight on her face was immeasurable. She confided that it had been years since anyone had extended such genuine courtesy to her within a retail setting. My heart swelled with paternal pride. And how did that revelation make you feel? It felt as though I finally grasped the profound lessons you and Father endeavored to impart throughout the years. In that instant, I knew with absolute certainty that my decision had been the correct one. The grief of Elias's interment, the public disgrace, the ruination of Tiffany's professional standing, all of it had proven worthwhile to arrive at this profound moment. Marcus, I began, my voice thick with emotion, your father would be immensely proud of the man you have become. Are you proud of me? He asked, his gaze earnest. Beyond measure. He approached my desk, taking my hands in his. Mother, there is something further I wish to convey. And what is that? Thank you for preventing me from remaining married to someone who held you in such low regard. Thank you for instilling in me the understanding that true affection necessitates the defense of those we cherish, particularly when they are incapable of safeguarding themselves. And Tiffany, he continued, I understand she is currently employed at a department store. From what I gather, she is facing financial difficulties, but that is no longer my concern. Do you harbor any remorse regarding that now? I inquired. I regret the time I wasted being oblivious to her true character, but I feel no regret for the natural ramifications of her own conduct. 3 months later, I received an unexpected communication. It was Tiffany on the line. "Miss Coleman," she began, her voice laced with apprehension, "I realize you likely wish no further contact with me, but I felt compelled to express my gratitude." "To thank me for what?" I pressed. "For teaching me the most arduous lesson of my existence, for demonstrating that actions invariably carry tangible consequences. And what specific lesson have you internalized, Tiffany?" "That respect is not contingent upon a person's financial standing. That genuine grace emanates from how one treats others, especially those who can offer no personal advantage. I am pleased to hear that, Miss Coleman. I understand that I am undeserving of your absolution, but I wanted you to be aware that I sincerely lament all the distress I inflicted upon you, and the instruction you provided has undeniably shaped me into a more improved individual." I terminated the call, a profound sense of tranquility washing over me. The retribution had been satisfying, certainly, but the ultimate contentment stemmed from the knowledge that I had safeguarded the fundamental principles that my late husband and I had meticulously cultivated over a lifetime. That evening, as I observed the sun dip below the horizon from my study window, my thoughts turned to Elias. "My dearest," I whispered, "I have finally learned to stand my ground, and our children will undoubtedly thrive." Justice had been served not merely as retribution, but as a powerful educational experience, and that, I concluded, was the paramount lesson of all. Did you find my narrative engaging? And from which city are you tuning in? Let's connect in the comments section. Should this story resonate with you, your support through a super thanks would be greatly appreciated, enabling me to continue delivering such narratives. Thank you immensely for your kind patronage. I eagerly anticipate your reflections on the story. On your screen, you will find 2 new life sagas that I wholeheartedly endorse. My channel offers a wealth of additional content. Please remember to subscribe. I look forward to sharing another life story with you soon, with utmost affection and respect.